now it is time for the news. The new Witcher miniseries called The Witcher Blood Origin has an art department that really loves the work of Sean Koss. Just not enough to pay him. For those who don't know, Sean Koss is an incredible illustrator, author, designer. I'm a big fan myself. And they did not bother to tell him that they were going to use his artwork in the show. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. That's right, he was not compensated nor informed. The changes that The Witcher did to his art were minimal. It's like they weren't even trying to hide the fact that they were ripping him off. Proving that The Witcher Blood Origin is willing to steal from anyone or anything except for the source material. Next up, Crossbone Skully came to Earth to warn everyone about what is to come. That's right, a time-traveling rock and roll alien named Crossbone Skully made an appearance at Fan Expo San Francisco recently. This is part of a massive brand new multimedia project that's involving some pretty big names in rock and roll. Crossbone Skully is a brand new concept album. The first single is dropped on iTunes and Spotify, and it is from the mind of Tommy Henriksen. This is a legendary guitar player for Alice Cooper and Hollywood Vampires and numerous other bands. Crossbone Skully is more than a band or an album. It has an entire huge plot surrounding this alien character, and to debut this world, the multimedia project kicked off with a comic book, and I've been extremely lucky to get to work with Tommy Henriksen on writing the comic book called Thing Number 1, and we dropped an exclusive small Ashcan Preview. So this right here is the Fan Expo San Francisco Ashcan of Crossbone Skully Thing Number 1. I did the cover art for it. Stan Yak did the pencils and inks for the interior. Colin Johnson did the colors. Dave Lentz did the letters. And Tommy and I wrote it. And Thing Number 1 is more than just a comic book. It is also a short animated film, which also debuted in San Francisco. And for those who don't know, the film is loaded with some pretty big names. Joe Perry from Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, Johnny Depp, Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. There is just an incredible lineup of voice actors. That is now available to watch for free on YouTube. So check out Crossbone Skully. Listen to the single, The Evil World Machine, which is available to stream right now, and get ready for more, because the full-length comic hasn't come yet, and the full album hasn't come yet. There's so much more happening with this. Publishing company Bad Idea has another bad idea. They have been living up to their name since day one. For those who aren't familiar with Bad Idea, they are all about trying to use get-rich-quick scheme tactics to try to float themselves through every comic season, putting more prominence on their antics than on their actual storytelling, than on their creative teams, than on their characters, than on the worlds that they're trying to bring people. No, what they care about is manufacturing scarcity, trying to drive up prices to astronomical amounts, and using FOMO every chance they can. The latest is, have you ever wanted to work in the comic book industry? Because recently, Bad Idea decided to give you a chance to do that without having to really earn it. And by earn it, I mean without having to build a career, without even having to make a resume, without having to do anything except pay them money. That's their favorite thing, is when you pay them money. So if you wanted a job, if you wanted a credit inside a comic book, all you have to do is pay $1,000 to Bad Idea. They will give you a list of job titles. You get to pick which one you want. These are obviously throwaway job titles that mean nothing to them. You will get employment for a year. They don't pay you, keep in mind. You only pay them. And you will get the world's tiniest amount of work, meaning we're going to give you a few pages out of a comic and you're going to give us your notes on it. And then they give you a letter of recommendation. You get to put them on your resume. I am not sure I've ever heard of a publisher doing this. Not only does it seem unethical and immoral, it seems kind of stupid. I'm not sure anybody would fall for this, and I'm not sure that they think that they would get any kind of leg up in this industry by even having Bad Idea on the resume in the first place, let alone a spot they literally paid $1,000 for to be on the resume. But nonetheless, I don't doubt that people probably signed up for it. This was a one-time only thing where they only allowed a certain number of people one morning, and then they encouraged people to continue sending them money after that in amounts higher than $1,000, and they would consider adding on a few more fake jobs to the highest bidder. Unbelievable. Hawkeye has met his greatest match, and it is not Thanos, it is a snowplow. Jeremy Renner is unfortunately in critical but stable condition in the hospital right now after a snowplow accident. Details on exactly how this happened are a little bit vague, but we do know that Jeremy has been known to plow his own road and his neighbors' driveways and such, and he was found to have been run over by his own snowplow. He was alone when it happened, and a neighbor, it sounds like, may have saved his life by creating a tourniquet and trying to stop the excessive amount of bleeding. Jeremy is doing okay. He had a surgery. We don't know much more about it except that he came out of things doing fine, and we all wish you the best here at The Source. DC has been in the news recently, and this time, no, it's not about making more Batman comics. I think we have enough of those. At least enough per week. Anyway, DC was in the news recently as Variety shared a really interesting look at some of the inner turmoil happening between Dwayne The Rock Johnson and everyone at DC regarding the Black Adam film. It looks as though The Rock went behind a lot of people's backs to try to climb the chain of command with a lot of interesting requests, including the Henry Cavill cameo that we got from this film, which turned out to be for nothing. Even though DC had already made up their mind to recast the character before this film was shot, they had agreed to The Rock's demands to put this cameo in there, and his other demands included a much longer plan, multi-film plan that would end in a massive battle between Superman and Black Adam. Whether or not we'll ever get to see that, still not sure. In fact, we're not even sure if The Rock will ever play Black Adam again, as we are now getting a big DC reset. But if you get the chance and you want to see more details, see how Dwayne The Rock Johnson ruffled feathers internally by checking out the article that Variety has released. In the meantime, we got plenty of other cool things to read and cool movies to watch. We'd like to wrap up our news segment for this episode with a bit more sad news, and that is that writer Lou Moogan has passed away. Lou, he died at age 68 after a brief illness. Not much detail on that, but he will be missed, and he was a longtime member of this community. Here is a comic book that he wrote called Spaced Out. And this was published by SourcePoint Press, and myself and Martha Webby did this cover art. It was my pleasure to get to work with Lou. I enjoyed his sense of humor, his love for all things vintage and retro. And on top of having written for numerous publishers, working in indie comics for decades, and also writing for Marvel, and even writing the origin story for Swordsman, what I think I appreciated most about Lou was he was a comic book historian. Dating all the way back to the 70s, Lou was building databases and indexes for comic book characters. And this was a time when we didn't have any of that. So this became very popular as he continued to do it through the 80s, and the next thing you know, he was doing it for magazines. And these magazines would feature these long articles showing all of the history of a certain character. For example, they'd say, Lou, can you tell us the complete full history of everything that's ever happened to Thor? And he would do it. And he continued to build these databases before the internet was born. So you would be thinking that with the birth of the internet, Lou would no longer be relevant, or his work in building these indexes would no longer be relevant, but it was not the case. The World Wide Web greeted Lou with open arms, and he was among the very first people to start building the online databases that we use all the time now to dive deep into our fandoms and read up on characters and figure out their relationships and their backstories. A lot of Lou's hard work can be found in those databases to this day, and he will be missed. So our heartfelt condolences to his loved ones, his family and friends. He will never be forgotten here in this industry.